Hi, I am Dr. Kim Sage. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. Welcome to my YouTube channel and to this series called Wildly Loved. Today's video is all about the secrets we basically carry in our hearts and lives and minds and bodies as a result of often very toxic, complicated, emotionally and or beyond unsafe types of childhoods. This is really my specialty, my passion, helping us understand our attachment wounds and relationships today, and how oftentimes what happens to us in childhood is still playing out in our adult lives. Really quickly, if you're new here, please consider subscribing and checking that little box or the bell, and that way you'll get notified when I post new videos. I'm posting Monday through Friday right now on this Wildly Loved series. Really quickly, also, please check out if you had parents who you truly believe were toxic, emotionally unsafe, as I said, unpredictable, what I call eggshell parents, or you were neglected, or they may have suffered from some form of borderline or narcissism or extreme emotional immaturity. I have a course called Borderline and Narcissistic Parents, Healing and Dealing with Your Trauma, another course on remothering yourself, and a free course on understanding how to basically heal your life. And so all of the courses are just full of exercises and meditations and affirmations and lots of videos. In tomorrow's video, the last one of this week, I'm going to talk about the healing strategies for all of the things I've talked about this week. So don't forget to join me tomorrow. Okay, so what are some of the main secrets we often hold as a result of very complex, complicated childhoods, really with complex and complicated parents or caregiving figures? Number one is sort of the classic, we don't talk about Bruno, right? It's like we don't talk about what really happens, what is really going on, what parents really say and do. Perhaps it's because we're embarrassed, because it's been normalized, that's just how our family is. You know, in really difficult family situations with certain types of people, it's amazing how everyone is so used to that one person being the way they are that we sort of normalize it. And even though, even in the family, we all agree that there's something wrong or they have a mental health issue, we often just get stuck in like, well, that's just how they are, but we don't want to share that outside of our little environment. And so we hold these sort of secrets inside about what's really going on. And in many cases, I think we don't even realize until much later when we're doing the work on ourselves how truly wounding and toxic and difficult those people and situations were. So we don't talk about what's really going on in the people in the system. Number two, we don't talk often about, especially with parents who, as I've said, I think it's very common the most with a parent who struggles with a more borderline type disorder, where they're not directly intentionally hurtful, but they can be very hurtful. They can be very loving, they can be very cruel, depending upon their struggle. And I'm talking about untreated parents, not parents who are in treatment and working on their lives, but those who just have no idea that's just how they are. But what we really don't talk about is how we can truly love them and then hate them. How we can have such strong feelings about them even being here anymore. You know, I always think when a patient will talk about wishing a parent was maybe no longer here or that they're going to feel relieved, my mind really does start to go to certain types of disorders. Now, it may be other things, but very often a combination of narcissism and or borderline, some kind of situation where the personality and the pattern was extremely hurtful. But you don't really want to admit to the average person that you actually have such intense disgust or rage or hatred for your own parent, right? That doesn't feel good. And so that's a secret we might even keep from ourselves as well, but we don't talk about that. Because how do you even explain that to someone who doesn't have this kind of experience? They just don't get it. Number three, we don't talk about how they treat other people in the family system, right? About the blame shifting, the gaslighting, the lying. Even if we have an okay relationship, it might be really toxic between that parent and another sibling, or the step parent and its siblings, whatever. And so we don't talk about what we see. even if it's not happening to us. And that can really cover a lot of types of family secrets. But we sort of just keep that to ourselves. The next one is we often keep the secret of the trauma and the pain even from ourselves. It is often deeply buried in our own hearts, our own stories, and our own lives. It's almost like, okay, well, that was childhood, I'm going to put it back there. And not until some, striking event in your life, a loss, a grief, therapy, a trauma, do you start to really begin to unpack, oh my God, that did happen and that was really bad. It's like you take the lid off the trauma in your own heart, and it can feel like a secret that was stored away. And for many of us, it was safer to keep that like a secret because it's so painful to deal with. But the secret is that we are carrying so much trauma and often don't even know it or don't want to acknowledge it. And lastly, that we numb a lot of pain. That I think that people who come from difficult childhoods, we look at the ACEs studies on adverse childhood experiences and everything from chronic illness. So maybe your illness gets numbed through medications for that, through substance abuse, through addictions, through shopping, through gambling, right? Through watching excessive amounts of things on our phones, through social media addiction, right? We are often numbing because there's so much, not just active pain, but grief from childhood and all those experiences that we had happen to us that we never got to process or have a language for. I can go back to childhood and think about so many things that were like not right, but that I just went on my way. I went to my room, I went to play with a friend, I played by myself, right? Or I listened to music, or I numbed out in some way in childhood or my adolescent years. Whatever it is, we're often carrying those numbing behaviors into our adult lives. And they might be very neatly and nicely layered within very justifiable things like physical and chronic health issues, which are very, very common in those of us who have more adverse events in childhood. But the truth is that we're not really telling people what's really going on, or what we used to do if we've gotten over that issue or addiction. We're not struggling anymore, but we don't want to talk about it or share it. And even if we're just numbing just the idea of our own pain, even if we're not using anything super, that's detrimental, maybe we're very highly functional, we're just trying to keep the volume turned down and sort of low key and distract ourselves at a minimum from the pain we carry. I think those are 5 of the top secrets that I see in my practice, and as somebody that has also had these experiences, I'm curious to see if you'd like to add more down below in the comment section. I think it's important that we keep sharing our stories and that we keep talking about how much all of this affects us, so we can also talk about roadmaps in terms of how to heal. And that's what we're going to do in tomorrow's video. So thank you so much for being here. Please stay safe and well, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye guys.